Welcome to our live interview with the writers from the Denton Record-Chronicle, powered in part by Classic of Denton.
Well, hello, Denton. We are here at dentonradio.com in the Discover Denton Welcome Center in downtown Denton. I'm Lucinda Breeding. I'm the features editor at the Denton Record-Chronicle, which is, segue coming up, a sponsor for Denton's Day of the Dead Festival. And joining me in the studio today is Denton's Day of the Dead Festival creator and director, David Pierce.
Happy to be here.
And co-founder of GonzoBot Studios, Laura Gonzalez.
Nice to be here.
And full disclosure, Laura and I have been partners in life and with the festival for, well, we've been together for a long time, but we've been working together with Dave on this festival for what, like 7 years, 8 years now?
2011 was the first year.
Yeah, so we've been
longer
at
than
it.
that.
It feels longer.
It does seem, yes.
Well, for those of you who
Forever.
don't know about Denton's Day of the Dead Festival, it is a free multicultural family festival hosted here in downtown Denton at Industrial and East Hickory Streets. It has got a little bit of all of those sorts of hallmarks of fall in the American Southwest. It tips its hat to the harvest, Halloween, and Dia de los Muertos. And it just has a lot of everything. There's something for all ages to do. There's a pumpkin patch for kids, live music just about all day. There's the very, very popular coffin races and the Twilight Lantern and costume parade. Mm-hmm. And the thing that started all of it, Cirque de Horror, the original Halloween musical by Mr. David Pierce. And there are going to be 3 shows.
That's
as
correct,
typical. Yeah. But tell us what is going on this year that you would like to point some attention to.
In the show or in the festival?
The festival.
Oh, yeah, of course. Well, I think probably one of the most exciting things that we just learned was that UNT's artist in residence, Wayne White, is going to be displaying some of his art projects, his, I believe, puppet heads.
Yes,
and
yes.
In the actual lantern-lit Twilight parade, and so we're really excited to know that that's going to be taking place. I think that this year seems, was talking to a friend of mine about this the other day, seems business as usual, seems everything seems to be going along with the flow, but, you know, it always seems like something like what I just mentioned with Wayne White. It always seems like there's something magical that pops up that we're fortunate enough to have and just enjoy as part of, you know, just the regular festivities.
Yeah. And for those of you who don't know, Wayne White is he's an Emmy award-winning designer puppeteer. And if you're, you know, an 80s kid and you ever watched Pee-wee's Playhouse, he designed the puppets for that show. So he's going to be working with the UNT students in the College of Visual Arts and Design to make these really giant 3D puppets. And you've probably seen, if you have a Pinterest account, you've probably seen these pop up, but it is an exciting development. Let's talk a little bit about the altar, the community altar this year.
Sure, yes.
Why is that something that you wanted to get behind?
Well, I think that the importance of having a festival that is an all-encompassing festival of the fall. I think that it's important to pay respect to every element that we say we are going to incorporate in our festival. One of the elements, of course, I think the more serious element would be the Dia de los Muertos, and I think that sort of celebration of life, I think having something in our city to pay our humble respects to show as a nod of the cap to such a beautiful culture, sentiment, just holiday, you know, is, I think, bringing the community together in that aspect is just as important in its own way, in its own beautiful way, as, you know, getting the community to come together and have a pumpkin patch or enjoy coffin races. And but, of course, this being more revered, a little bit more, obviously, serious, it's really it's important to me to see the different people in the community come out and want to be involved in this from all cultures that really feel like this is an important, important component not only of just the festival, but just with life, just to sort of pay tribute to, you know.
Now, the ofrenda, which is the traditional Mexican altar associated with the Day of the Dead in Mexico, and also obviously across Hispanic communities, Mexican American communities in America, that's been a part of the festival before. There were several years that Greater Denton Arts Council actually hosted and sponsored an exhibit of ofrendas in the Goff Gallery at the Patterson Appleton Arts Center. So it's been part of the festival in the past. This year, the core staff and the board really wanted it to be a more visible element of the festival. And what that means is it's going to be a large altar, and it's actually going to be out on the festival grounds. And I wanted to ask Laura, this was actually your idea. You had decided that this is something that Gonzobot Studios, which is sort of an informal group of creatives that builds puppets and other art every year for the festival. You were the one who said, why don't we put together an altar, but actually also have it part of the parade? Tell me what made you think of that and why you wanted to do that.
Just kind of taking the cue from previously having the ofrendas over at the Appleton
Art Center.
Yes. I thought it would be cool to have something on the parade grounds because you have to kind of go across the street.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought it would be cool. And also we have a large Hispanic community here, and I thought they could relate to it. And I thought it'd be just a way for me to connect to my roots and my culture. Growing up, I didn't celebrate traditional Day of the Dead, but we did. Death is a part of life. And so we always, when we had funerals and stuff like that, we'd always remember the person who'd passed by telling stories about them, getting together and, having a drink in their honor, which was kind of our way of doing it. We didn't go out and, make an altar or anything, but that's kind of how we did it. And so I thought this would be a great way to tie in some of how I grew up and then the traditional Mexican or Hispanic Day of the Dead. And I thought it would just be cool to let other people know, kind of bring people together, understand the different cultures, like this is why this is important and why it's, revered in the Mexican community. And so, and people seem to want to know more about it. And it seems like it's become very popular.
For sure.
In the last few years.
Well, tell us a little bit about the actual altar that's been built. Tell us a little bit about what it looks like. And this is a community altar, so tell us also a little bit about how the community can get involved in this. Start off with what it looks like and what people can expect.
Well, it's 3 tiers, so it's like 3 stair steps, if you can imagine, on a trailer. It will have one tier will be strictly for the community, so you're able to bring pictures, any kind of token or remembrance, anything that you have of a loved one that you want to place on it. But you have to remember that this is a moving altar, so
it's going to move.
Yes, anything that you give us is going to have to be. You're not going to get back because we're going to have to either glue it, staple it, or somehow affix it to this moving altar. Mm-hmm. You can make a Xerox copy of a photo of a loved one, or, if they had a favorite drink or food or something, you can bring that and we can somehow fix it to the altar. You can also, you'll be able to, for a donation, be able to get a butterfly and put a loved one's name on it, a monarch butterfly or a little skeleton head, also that we can write a name to and affix it to the altar. So we're hoping that we have a huge community turnout to kind of help us complete this altar and kind of just everyone kind of bring the community together, and hopefully bring, there's a lot of tension in the community right now and in the U.S., and this is just kind of a way to bring people together and say, hey, we're the same. And it's going to be lit up, so it's going to look really cool.
Yes. It's going to turn into a float in the Twilight Parade, so
right.
It is going to be illuminated.
Right. So I think it's going to be really eye-catching. Well, that's what I'm hoping. It's very colorful. So I'm hoping that everybody's going to like it as much as just seeing from what I've done and put together. It's not all the way put together yet, but it looks really cool. So I'm hoping that everybody really enjoys it.
And the other really cool thing to mention here is if you really don't think of anything in particular that you might want to bring to put on the altar, the Greater Denton Arts Council is going to have a free marigold making craft from 11 o'clock in the morning. The event is from 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. on Saturday, October 27th. So that's that last weekend in the last Saturday in October. So from 11 to 5, you can take your family over to the Patterson Appleton Art Center, which is at 400 East Hickory. It's just across Bell Avenue from the festival. And you can go in and you can make a marigold. And if you'd like, you can bring that marigold and place it on the altar as your memorial. So sometimes it stumps people, what am I going to bring? Especially since the idea is you're not going to get these things back, but some of it will be incorporated into the 2019 project. So this is a community deal. And the other thing I kind of wanted to highlight were some of the elements, some of the traditional elements that are on this ofrenda. What can you tell us about the meaning of the salt cross? There is going to be a salt cross on the altar.
Yeah, so there's several things that in the Mexican tradition that go into the making of the altar, and there's several meanings behind different things that are involved in the altar, and one of them is the salt cross. And it signifies a purifying element. The spirit is crossing over; it's purifying it. It is also symbolic of preserving the body as it makes its journey to the afterlife. I had a lot of fun making that salt cross. Let's just hope it doesn't disintegrate as it's traveling across.
It's made of real salt.
Yes, it is made of real salt.
Made of actual salt.
So.
And what are some of the other sort of things that people might see on the altar?
Well, everybody knows candles, marigolds. Yes. There'll be monarch butterflies. And I think something really cool about the monarchs is every year in fall, they migrate to Mexico, and people believe that those were the spirits of the ancestors coming back to visit them. Mm-hmm. And so, cool. I think that's really symbolic. I think that'll be really cool to see on the float as it's moving by. They're colorful. I think it's going to be great.
Awesome. Very cool. Well, so Dave, tell us a little bit more about what some of the other things people will experience at this year's festival.
Sure. Earlier I said business as usual, and I guess to clarify things, I mean, it's always so amazing for me to kind of take a step back and just realize, okay, so this year our coffin race entries filled up faster than they've ever filled. Mm-hmm. We've had vendors' spots fill up faster than they've ever filled. We see the festival growing, and we see the excitement that it generates, and we see that building and that growing from year to year. So obviously, yes, the very visible, the much anticipated, the very exciting coffin races always take place down the hill of Hickory Street. We've got a pumpkin patch that has all sorts of games and festivities for the children and parents alike. We've got bands, like you mentioned, and we also have several different dance groups that perform. One of the groups I'm excited to have involved in the festival today is the dance theater in Fort Worth, the Folklorico, the Azteca Dance Theater. Mm-hmm. They're going to be participating with us this year, so I'm excited to have them on board. And among all of just the food and all the merriment and all the wonderful vendors that come out selling not only their food and their wares, but we're also going to have a couple of performances by my Halloween musical, Cirque de Horror, Inside a Dance.
That started it all.
I just had a meeting with Dan earlier today, and we were talking that ticket sales have been going better than they have pretty much ever. So at this point, everything's rolling right along with the whole package, it seems like. With
now, you mentioned to me, you let slip that there are some, I shouldn't say groupies, but there are some, should we call them Cirque heads? It's like deadheads. This Halloween musical has a bit of an annual following, people who make a point of checking it out every year.
It does have a sort of like we've joked about kind of a very culty type following.
How very appropriate.
Yes, exactly. There's always a certain element of people that want to come out and see the show with the hubbub and the bustle of the actual Saturday of the festival. And then there's this very tried and true, this very dedicated group of people that like to come out to the Sunday matinee once everything is calmed down.
Yes.
and they seem to reserve those spots up pretty quick.
Oh yeah. And one thing, if you've not seen Cirque de Horror, it's so imaginative, and it's very DIY. The visuals, I have to ask, should we expect any shadow puppets this year?
Oh, there'll be some shadow puppets. There's also going to be an addition of some life-size marionette, some life-size puppets that a couple.
Wow. Okay.
So we've got some of that in the works too. So some new elements for the show.
Lots of building going on.
Lots of building and construction.
If you're uninitiated with Cirque de Horror, I think of it as sort of a Halloween musical that kind of works like a variety show. You don't necessarily have a through line of characters going on this journey. You do have characters going on a journey, but these are sketches.
That's right.
Different characters telling these compact stories about all things spooky and uncertain and very fantastical.
Yeah, that is the common thread, and it's definitely likens itself more to a vaudeville
yes.
act, where every act is a little bit different. It's not a through composed piece of music and story, but it definitely has all of the elements for Halloween for the festival. Yeah.
And I know there's new material every year. There's
That's
some things that are perennial
Mm-hmm.
in Cirque. Some songs I have been known to hum it's really the opening number in the shower every day of October.
So it's October when
yes,
that happens. Yeah, okay.
That's true. This is true. So Denton's Day of the Dead Festival, 11 a.m. to 9 p.m., Saturday, October 27th. Most of the action happens on Industrial Street and East Hickory Street. And another cool thing, there is a trunk or treat happening right about the time that the parade's getting started in the historical park. If you know where Denton Community Market is, there is just going to be a lot going on in downtown Denton
really
that
is.
day. But also, if you bring your little ones to the Twilight Lantern and Costume Parade, not only will they get to see these illuminated puppets and people in costume, but they will get some candy. We have got several groups coming, and they are planning to be handing out candy. So get those candy bags, pillowcases, plastic pumpkins, whatever it is you use, and be there. It's free. If you want to learn more about Cirque de Horror, you can actually find tickets on the Dan Silverleaf site, which is www.dansilverleaf.com, or you can go to cirqueduhorror.com and learn a lot more about the musical. And certainly everybody come out and either bring a marigold, a token, a copy of a poem, or a photo for the community ofrenda, the traditional Mexican altar, and just get ready to have a great time.
That's right. That's right. This parade is all-inclusive. It is, you can show up in costume or
yes,
not.
You can.
Just like the whole festival, it's free, and it's for the communities, for the families. So just come out and enjoy.
Be there.
Well, thank you for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed the show. Be sure to check out DentonRadio.com for new Denton artists and where they're playing next. While you're surfing the internet, make sure you check out our friends Classic of Denton at ClassicofDenton.com.